Imagine a world where a simple piece of paper can change your entire perspective on the most well-known events in history. A letter from Pontius Pilate to Emperor Tiberius, revealing secret details about Jesus' appearance, his impact, and the doubts that plagued Pilate, was recently discovered. What is so mysterious about this document? Is it genuine or a fabrication of later times? Over the centuries, this letter, if authentic, could hold the key to better understanding the relationship between Pilate and Jesus and what really happened on that fateful day of his crucifixion. But before we form an opinion about the authenticity of this letter, it's crucial to explore what it might mean if it were indeed a direct record from Pilate. What could we learn about Jesus' true appearance? What did he represent to Pilate? Beyond being a prisoner on the brink of death, could Pilate, with all his authority, truly have doubted Jesus' identity? These questions and more can begin to be answered by taking a closer look at this letter, which offers us a rare window into one of history's most impactful moments. And that's where you come in. Before continuing, reflect for a moment on Jesus' true identity and the impact he had on Pilate and the world. Are you ready to delve into this mystery? Click the subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss any details of this story that will challenge everything you thought you knew about Jesus' crucifixion and resurrection. Let's explore the depths of this letter and its impact on history together. Don't miss this chance to understand more deeply this crucial moment in our spiritual journey. The supernatural presence during Jesus' crucifixion was something Pilate certainly couldn't ignore. The darkened sky, the torn temple veil, and rumors of the dead rising were phenomena that challenged even the most skeptical. Did these events contribute to Pilate's rethinking of his choices? And how does all this connect to the story of Jesus? These questions are just the tip of the iceberg. Let's continue exploring this mystery that has challenged generations. Pontius Pilate, in his letter to Emperor Tiberius, describes Jesus in a way rarely explored in traditional narratives. For him, Jesus was not just any prisoner. He had a distinctive appearance and a presence that could not be ignored. Pilate describes Jesus as a tall man with an erect posture and a serene yet imposing countenance. His tranquil face conveyed a peace that seemed to disconcert those around him, something unusual in an environment where tension and fear were the norm. What most caught Pilate's attention were Jesus' eyes, gray and penetrating, which seemed to look beyond the immediate, as if they saw directly into the hearts and souls of the people. Pilate also comments on Jesus' thick, brown hair, always carefully groomed, and his thick, slightly forked beard, which only added to his appearance of serene authority. In a world where the image of power was often associated with adornments and luxurious clothing, Jesus stood out for his simplicity. His presence, more than his clothing, was what truly defined him. This certainly intrigued Pilate, who, as governor, was accustomed to dealing with men of power who flaunted wealth and status. What Jesus displayed was an innate authority, one that did not depend on wealth or titles. Jesus' demeanor, beyond his appearance, also impressed Pilate. Jesus possessed a calmness and wisdom that seemed to come from a deep place unknown to the Roman governor. He never hurried, never became irritated, and his introspective nature was constantly evident. Pilate, accustomed to dealing with nervous or angry prisoners, observed Jesus' behavior with surprise, as he rarely displayed any extreme emotion. Pilate often saw him crying, but rarely laughing. For him, this only made Jesus more enigmatic, a figure who didn't fit the patterns he knew. But what truly disconcerted Pilate was Jesus' authority, which seemed to transcend any earthly power. Unlike other men who presented themselves with titles of grandeur, Jesus seemed to be an authority in his own right, without needing to prove anything to anyone. He spoke not like a king or a politician, but as someone with profound knowledge of life and death. This created tension in Pilate, for while he saw Jesus as someone with an aura of divinity, he was also aware of the political and religious pressure that forced him to make a decision about his life or death. And in the midst of it all, Jesus remained calm, mysterious, as if he already knew the fate that awaited him. Pilate, surprisingly, was not indifferent to Jesus' behavior. He found himself constantly disconcerted by the serenity and authority Jesus exuded. In his position as ruler, Pilate was accustomed to dealing with men of all kinds, from impetuous leaders to desperate criminals. However, Jesus seemed to be in a class of his own. It wasn't just his physical appearance that caught Pilate's attention, but the aura of tranquility and spiritual depth that surrounded him. Something about his presence made Pilate doubt the veracity of his own judgment. How could a seemingly ordinary man, with no military or political power, make such an impression on the Roman governor? This impact was not limited to his authority, but extended to the way Jesus behaved when accused. He neither defended himself nor accused others, and his calm in the face of death threats was almost disturbing. Pilate, who had probably seen hundreds of desperate prisoners, was perplexed to see Jesus so serene. There was constant pressure on him, political and religious pressure, and this made the decision to condemn or release him even more difficult. Pilate did not see Jesus as an ordinary man, but rather someone who transcended human understanding. The doubt about Jesus' identity, the mixture of holiness and humanity, left him in a state of constant reflection. Despite the growing tension and the pressure of leading the trial, Pilate seemed hesitant. He sensed he was facing something much larger than a simple legal or political issue, but the forces at play were strong. The religious pressure from the Jewish leaders and the eagerness of the crowd calling for Jesus' crucifixion were palpable. Jesus' voice seemed to defy all Roman authority, and this deeply troubled Pilate. Even so, he could not ignore the emotional impact Jesus caused. How could someone so simple, with no army, no political power, have such moral authority? Doubt lingered over Pilate. Was he condemning the Son of God? Or was he simply surrendering to an angry mob? Pilate's decision was becoming even more complex. He began to question whether he was truly being fair, or if he was somehow acting under pressure. This led to the famous scene where he symbolically washed his hands before the crowd, attempting to absolve himself of guilt. However, this action by Pilate did not appease his inner uneasiness. The dilemma surrounding Jesus' crucifixion continued to plague his thoughts. Was he making the right decision in choosing Barabbas, a notorious criminal, over Jesus, the man who, in the view of many, could be the true Messiah? What would it mean for him, as a ruler and a human being, to condemn someone with such spiritual and moral authority? Pilate's doubts did not dissipate, and this reflection would haunt him throughout his life. The moment of choice between Jesus and Barabbas was one of the most tense and decisive in history. The crowd, which until then had gathered to celebrate Passover, was now divided, clamoring for the release of Barabbas, the criminal known for his violent actions, and for the condemnation of Jesus. Pilate, caught between the duty of governing and the pressure of maintaining peace, found himself forced to make a difficult decision. The choice was in his hands: release Jesus, a man who would have profound impact even on him, or release Barabbas, whose guilt was undeniable. For Pilate, it was not only a matter of justice, but also of politics. The crowd seemed more forced to be contained than an impartial judge. Pilate tried in every way to absolve himself of guilt. He knew the decision was important, but his authority was being challenged by pressure from the religious leaders and the will of the crowd. By washing his hand before the people, he symbolically distanced himself from responsibility for Jesus' condemnation, saying, "I am innocent of the blood of this just man." But in doing so, he was actually becoming an accomplice. For the choice to release Barabbas and condemn Jesus was not simply a political action, it was also a moral and spiritual act. Pilate tried to absolve himself of guilt, but the consequences of his decision followed him throughout his life. Jesus' crucifixion was marked by a strange darkness that covered the sky, as if the universe itself were reacting to the brutal act being committed. The temple veil tore, a sign that the ancient religious system was coming to an end, and many reportedly felt the earth shake beneath their feet. Pilate, observing these supernatural phenomena, may have begun to question Jesus' true identity. What did it all mean? Were these signs from heaven a reflection of the truth he had ignored? Even after making his decision, Pilate could not shake the images and sensations of an event that seemed far greater than his own authority. Despite clear signs and internal pressure, Pilate remained in command, but with a growing sense of uncertainty. Jesus' death didn't just mean the end of a trial, it represented the beginning of a new era, a shift in understanding of power, morality, and spirituality. And although Pilate tried to rationalize his decision, doubts about the justice of Jesus' crucifixion continued to plague his mind. There was something profoundly wrong in that moment, something that transcended political judgment and reached Pilate's soul. Jesus' crucifixion was marked not only by human brutality, but also by a supernatural phenomena that shook the world of Pilate and those present. The sky, which suddenly darkened, seemed to reflect the pain and suffering of the moment, as if creation itself were reacting to the act being consummated. Pilate, who had likely witnessed many executions, could not ignore the strange darkness that covered the sky during Jesus' death. What did this cosmic event mean? A mere coincidence or a sign of divine power? Deep down, Pilate began to question his own worldview, for something out of the ordinary was happening before his eyes. Besides the darkness, another shocking phenomenon was the earthquake that shook the earth, opening graves and shaking the city. It wasn't the kind of event a Roman governor was accustomed to witnessing at an execution. The temple veil was torn from top to bottom, a profound symbolism for those who understood the religious significance of time. This was a clear sign that something was changing on a spiritual level, something that went beyond the politics or religion of the time. The temple, once considered God's dwelling place, was now physically destroyed, as if God himself were withdrawing from that corrupt religious system. And then came even more shocking reports the dead were resurrected and walking through the city. Some of the witnesses to these events may have thought they were living in a nightmare. But for Pilate, this was a reality difficult to process. How could he ignore these phenomena? How could he, as a man of authority, continue to follow the paths that led to Jesus' crucifixion, when even the physical world seemed to be reacting to Jesus' death? Pilate's doubts grew with each new report. Was he gaining insight into Jesus' true identity? Was Jesus truly the Messiah, the Son of God, as many claimed? Jesus' resurrection, which followed his burial, brought even more unease to Pilate. Rumors of Jesus' appearance to his disciples and other followers quickly spread. The impact of this resurrection shook not only Jesus' followers, but also the foundations of the Roman Empire itself. Pilate, who had initially condemned Jesus to death, now faced an even greater dilemma. Could his choice have been a monumental error? What did the resurrection mean for the future of his own soul and for the history of humanity? Pilate was beginning to realize that Jesus' impact would not be fleeting, it would change the world forever. After the crucifixion, Jesus' story continued to unfold in stunning ways, far beyond the physical death Pilate had ordered. Jesus' resurrection, an event that defied human logic and expectations, became the central milestone of a new era. Pilate, though he tried to distance himself from responsibility by washing his hands before the crowd, could not escape the spiritual implications this resurrection represented. The man he had condemned was not only alive again, but was transforming the world with his spiritual presence. Jesus' appearances to his disciples and followers not only confirmed his divine identity, but also ushered in a new vision of the afterlife and the power of faith. Over time, Jesus' words and teachings began to spread exponentially. The small sect of followers grew into a worldwide faith, and Christ's message of forgiveness, love, and redemption resounded through the centuries. Pilate, as a Roman ruler, could not have foreseen Jesus' impact. He probably never imagined that the crucifixion of a simple man, without wealth or military power, would spark a spiritual revolution that would shake the foundations of the Roman Empire and, eventually, the entire world. But in his heart, he knew there was something unusual about this man. The doubt about his decision to condemn him never left his mind, and Pilate often found himself reflecting on what might have been had he taken a different course. For Pilate, the doubt was not only about the impact Jesus had made while he was alive, but also about the consequences of his choice. He wondered if, by choosing Barabbas, he had condemned himself to live with eternal doubt about Jesus' true identity. What would have happened if he had released Jesus? How would his life, and perhaps even the history of the world, have been different? The weight of this doubt about Jesus' legacy and the legacy of his own choices would likely remain with him throughout his life. Jesus' impact was not only on those who followed his teachings, but also on those who, like Pilate, played a decisive role in his crucifixion. In the years after crucifixion, Jesus' growing influence on people of all nations led Pilate to question more deeply the implications of his actions. What seemed like a political and religious decision in the heat of the moment became an existential question for him. The very concept of life after death was never the same again. Jesus' resurrection brought a new perspective on the eternal destiny of the human soul, something Pilate, as a Roman, had likely never considered deeply. Looking back at Jesus' impact, he knew the world had changed forever, and that he, in some inexplicable way, have been part of this great historical event. The story of Pilate and his relationship with Jesus invites us to reflect on the choices we make and the consequences they can have. When Pilate found himself before Jesus, he was, like all of us, at a moment of decision. Political and religious pressure forced him to make a difficult choice given to the crowd and condemn a man who appeared innocent, or defy the authorities and release someone who raised doubts about his true identity. Pilate, like any human being, made his choice based on the circumstances. But what he didn't know was that the implications of this decision would extend beyond his lifetime and leave an indelible mark on history. Like all of us, he was trying to do his best within what he understood to be the reality of his time. But deep down, he knew there was something mysterious about Jesus that made him question his decision. This reflection on Pilate's choices is a call to action for all of us. We all make decisions daily, some big, some small, but they all have the power to shape our destiny and the impact we have on the world. Pilate's choice between Jesus and Barabbas was a turning point not only for him, but for all of humanity. And while Pilate washed his hands to try to absolve himself of guilt, he likely realized on some level that there is no escaping the consequences of the choices we make. The story of Jesus and Pilate teaches us that even if we try to distance ourselves from responsibility, our actions echo through time. What we do today reverberates in the future, both in our personal lives and in the collective life. Pilate's doubt about Jesus' true identity never disappeared, even after so many years. He wondered, what if I was wrong? What if Jesus was, in fact, the Messiah? This constant doubt is something many people face when making difficult decisions. Regret and uncertainty can haunt us for a long time, especially when we realize that our choices may have altered the course of events in ways we can no longer control. Pilate, like us, had to live with the consequences of his actions, and this leads us to deeply reflect on the decisions we make in our own lives. Ultimately, this story leads us to the central question: what would you do in Pilate's shoes? Would you be able to make the right choice under pressure? Or would you, like him, be led to make the easiest decision, even if it wasn't the best? Pilate's doubt about Jesus is actually a reflection on our own doubts and choices in life. How are your actions, judgments, and decisions shaping the future? And what does this mean for the legacy you leave behind? The story of Pilate and Jesus challenges us to look within ourselves and reflect on our own choices. We all face moments when our decisions can change the course of our lives and often the lives of others. The doubt Pilate felt, even after so many years, about the choice he made is a lesson for us all. What are the choices you are making today? How are they shaping your future and the future of those around you? Pilate had his chance to act, but in the end, he was marked by doubt and reflection on the consequences of his choice. What about you? Are you willing to reflect on your decisions now, before they become a legacy you will carry forever? This reflection also invites us to consider Jesus' impact on our lives. If Jesus, with his message of love, forgiveness, and salvation, can transform even the heart of a man like Pilate, what can he do for us today? Jesus left us an immeasurable legacy that goes far beyond the words and deeds recorded in the Bible. His example, his life, and especially his resurrection, challenge the status quo and invite us to look to the future with hope, faith, and transformation. Are you willing to allow this influence to change your life? If you feel challenged by this story, if something within you is being touched, then it's time to act. Reflecting on the choices we make is the first step, but action comes when we decide to change, grow, and follow Christ's example in our own lives. If you still have questions about how this can happen, start now. The journey of reflection and transformation can begin with a simple step: the willingness to change the way you see the world and your decisions. Don't let Pilate's doubt be your greatest legacy. Take action today. If you want to continue exploring more about Jesus' life and how it can profoundly impact your life, subscribe to the channel, turn on notifications, and share this video with friends and family. The journey of reflection, learning, and transformation never ends, and we're on this journey together. Let's move forward toward a fuller future, filled with hope, faith, and of course, wiser choices.